So we talk a lot about succession planning on this show and doing it right. And today we have a father-daughter team who have done it right. Today you're going to meet Chris and Paulina Hadjiyianni. And they're going to talk about how they went about their succession plan, all the things that they put into it, all the discussions they had to have, and how they made it successful. So successful, in fact, that they're now looking at the next generation to bring into the business. Hi, I'm Chris Reynolds, and I'm on a mission to help independent financial advisors build a better business through a remarkable client experience. In this podcast, you're going to learn how to do that from my conversations with the visionaries, the leaders, the independent advisors who are reshaping the future of the financial advice industry. At the end of each episode, you're going to walk away with an actionable idea that you can take and use right now, and it will help you to build a better business today. This is Turning the Page. As we've talked about plenty of times on this show, there's a whole generation out there looking at succession plan, looking at what their options are. You know, they're planning out the next sort of chapter of their lives. And a lot of times now, believe it or not, they're looking at family members as one of the options for their succession planning. And this is actually coming up more and more. You know, it might be a son, daughter. We've seen nieces, we've seen nephews. You know, they want to come into the family business. They want to keep it going. They want to grow it, or maybe even take it into a new direction. And it's, as we all know, it's hard to find somebody that you can trust and that you really want to take over a business that you've spent literally your life building. You want to make sure your legacy lives on. You want to make sure your clients are happy. You want to make sure that the team stays intact and that they're looked after. And really, as I said, it's all about trust. You need somebody that you can trust that will, you know, take over the business that you've spent a lifetime building, the relationships that you've had, and really take it to the next generation. However, you know, those are all the positive sides. You know, there's a lot of thought and planning that needs to go into these important types of decisions, right? There's a lot of family dynamics at play. They need to be dealt with. They need to be overcome. And it's not as easy as people think. So I thought this would be a really great episode to talk about, you know, I'm going to consider one of the best success stories. We're having really a duo here who has done it right. We're talking to a father-daughter. We have Chris Hadjiyianni and his daughter Paulina. They're in Waterloo, and they've been helping families, you know, for, as I was talking to Chris before the show, over 40 years. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background. As I said, Chris has been at this for a long time, for a career spanning an amazing 50 years. You know, he came in it with accounting, financial expertise. But, you know, he really does the whole gamut. He really believes in families. He really does the whole advice type of thing. In fact, he's such a legacy in our business. He actually received IPC's Legacy Award for his longstanding contribution to the financial planning profession and really his dedication to his clients. And then Paulina came in, and Paulina now is an associate portfolio manager. You know, she also specializes with families, business owners, you know, and really has taken that baton and taken it to a whole nother level. And it's very interesting to see the dynamics between the two and really where they have taken the business and how they have modernized it, yet in a lot of ways kept it the same. And to tell you how well they've done, they just won Wealth Professionals of Canada, a 5-star advisory award, the 5-star advisory team in Canada, one of the best teams in Canada, as recognized by Wealth Professionals. It's a big accomplishment. You know, there's lots of financial planning teams out, but, you know, they won it. So, you know, welcome, Paulina, Chris. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Chris, he's coming from us from a whole other country. So that's how dedicated he is to this business. What does that tell you about Chris?
Well, I came from a family of 8 siblings. I was born and raised in Cyprus. I immigrated to Canada at age 22 with nothing in my name. I put myself through school. I got my first job at Electrohome in 1971, and I worked in the factory. In about a year, I was moving to the accounting department, and I became their financial analyst. Back in the early 90s, as I was still working at Electrohome as a financial analyst, I also did some bookkeeping on the side and for businesses and personal income taxes.
Oh.
I knew my days, they were numbered at Electrohome. As they were downsizing and laying off it was happening.
Mm.
At the same time, my own advisor, he was retiring, and I felt that it was an opportunity for the industry for me, and at the same time, look ways to improve the management, the relationship, with focusing on return on life instead of focusing on returns. And I thought to myself, I could really be good at this. And I took the necessary courses, and I wrote the exams. I passed it in a week.
Oh, geez.
And a week after that, they served me the papers, and I left. As I was leaving, it was scary times for me.
Oh, I bet.
Because I was the breadwinner at home with 2 kids and a secure job. And I went home and I said to my wife, I'm leaving, I'm switching jobs. Since I lost my job, I'm going to become an advisor.
Cool.
And she says to me, how much money are you going to make? I said, well, I really don't know, because it's a job that you have a client, you get paid. You don't have, you don't get paid. So I was thinking, and she says, how? You are going to take care of us? She really puts the brakes on me. And I said to myself, it was scary times, and I cannot fail. I really cannot fail.
No choice.
So from there on, I grew the client base, the relationship, one at a time. And here I am, 32 years later, and Pauline as my partner.
And taking it over. It's an amazing story to come up. And again, remember those days. It wasn't like now. You can buy a book or you come into it. This is starting from scratch, one client at a time.
At the time.
Just doing, but I think your philosophy, like to dwell on it, it's that return on life. A lot of people think that they're in the investment business, but we're not really in the investment business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're in the making people's lives better business. And so, I think a lot of your success, and you certainly see it when you talk to your clients, they all say the same thing. Chris is curious. Yeah. Then, Paulina, you got dragged into all of this business. Maybe tell us your story. How did you get here?
Well, for me, I'd say it was more of a mental journey to where I am today. Like, to some degree, I was always working for my father before I started working with him.
Right.
And he was always a great influence in my life. Like, from a young child, he'd have me. I was the paper delivery girl, giving out flyers for his bookkeeping business and tax prep. In high school, I took my first accounting course, and I was very good in math, solving problems, all the accounting, anything numbers. It came to me. So he saw that, and he put me right to work on doing his bookkeeping, not his bookkeeping, but for the businesses.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do, the MS-DOS versions.
Yes, the good old days. Yeah.
Yeah,
green screen. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was working on, like in grade 11, 12. And then in university, he already had a couple of years into this industry. And I came in as just working as his assistant while I was in university. So I was always working with him.
Right. It was always there, sort of.
I was always there, but I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do. Like, I was there, but I was still in my 20-something mind, 20-year-old mind, not serious in any way.
Exactly.
But when I was done university, I said, I'm out of here. Bye, Dad.
Right.
And I left, and I actually went and worked for AIC, which is a mutual fund company out in Burlington. That's no longer. They were bought out by, I think it was Manulife.
Manulife, I think, years ago.
Yeah. So I worked there for a few years in the operations department, which I called it a paper factory, because all it was is these microfiches coming into this big screen. I look at what it is and I process the trade. Like, it was literally a paper factory. And, I was good at it, but I didn't love it. That's not what I wanted to do. So I decided at that point I'm going to get my licenses, and I did, and I started to work for my father. But I was still working for him as an employee.
Right,
at
right, at that
point. And then that's when, I got married, started raising a family. In 4 years, I had 3 kids. So my mind was kind of all over the place. Like I was still working full time, but kind of in and out. So I couldn't focus on the business. And at one point, I felt like this tug of war between my family and the business. I didn't know what to do. And at the time, my husband was running 3 restaurants at the time, which was which was a big load for him. So we thought it would be better if I maybe stepped back for a bit to help him out. And I thought, okay, let me see, maybe that's better for the family. So I did. And when I did that, I hated it. Like
you realized what you didn't want to do.
Yeah. Like I went there. I remember I'd get up in the morning and look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, what am I doing? And I did it for a couple years. And again, I was good at it. I ran it. It was profitable. But I wasn't happy.
Right. You weren't passionate about it.
No, I was like, I just didn't like it. And then what triggered it for me is we were going to a family function. We were at this family function. When you're in a room full of cousins and aunts and uncles, there's no filter. Everyone's kind of, talking, yelling back and forth.
Absolutely. Describes my family.
And I know in the back of their head, they're thinking, what the hell is she doing in the restaurant industry? Right? Because they knew who I was. But for me, I was just, I was still not figuring it out for myself. And one cousin says to me, so Paulina, are you going to take over your dad's business? And at that point, I didn't know how to answer. I was just like, for a split second. And then another cousin jumps in and says, of course she is. She's not stupid. And then it was like a big slap in the face. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm stupid. I go, what am I doing? And that's when I went home that night and I said to my husband, I'm putting the restaurant up for sale.
Right.
So he agreed. And I went back to my father, but this time I wasn't an employee. My mindset had shifted to an entrepreneur. And that's when we kind of started restructuring the business and figuring out how we were going to go forward from there.
That's a really good point. And I think, because I talk to a lot of advisors and they're bringing their kids in, but I think that what you just said really, really resonated. It's not about working for your parents. It's eventually being a partner and taking over that business. And that, to your point, is a mind shift. It's a change in probably both parties, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was like when I went back, we thought, how are we going to do this? Like, how are we going to transition it? Because my father wasn't ready to step back. Like he was still in it. And I was full-fledged. I was ready to go full-fledged with it. And I was. So we decided to make it a 50-50 partnership. And then I bought into half my father's business, and we've been working together. All meetings are joint. We do all the planning together, and we've doubled our business since then.
Yeah, you guys have done incredibly well, as the awards and everything I talked about as we started. Yeah. So that's interesting. I think it's a shift of mindset. It's also, knowing what you're passionate about and what you want to do, because again, I also see kids coming in the business and they don't really necessarily have that same drive and passion to run a business as you do, and as we've seen. So that's that's, I think, a lesson that people can take out of this is, do the kids have the drive? Do they have the passion? And is it a mindset of ownership, or is it they're just working for their parents until they find something better?
In my own mind, you have to let the kids make their own money.
Right.
Find out what they want. Twice she asked me to leave the business. I said, go.
All right, go. Yeah.
Go. I knew, but in my mind, she would come back. In her way, she would come back. One day she will come back, and I knew she was good at it.
Yeah.
And I was not far out.
And you were absolutely right. She's very good at it. No, I think that's an important lesson for the people who are listening, who are sort of going through this process now. And there must be, from your point of view, Chris, you've been in this business a long time, right? To your point, and you've seen lots and lots of changes. What do you think has, I got a few questions here. What do you think has changed? What's the same, but what would you do differently if you had to start over again?
Interesting. What I would say, the strongest point is to have a very good relationship with your client.
Right. That's the same.
You need a trust. You have to talk to them with a conviction. If you have no conviction and they see it through immediately,
right.
I don't think I would do a lot of things differently. Probably I would go a little bit differently gathering information. At the time, I was not a salesperson.
Right.
I didn't know how to talk to people. But I had a vision. In every time I would go out, I would, as you say all the times, you steal ideas.
Right.
My mission back then it was anytime I would go out to any presentation to come up with one idea that we will put
implement.
It in practice.
Right. Get in place.
And all the times, that's what I was doing. And I was improving my business, our process. We introduced all those things. I don't think I would do any much different, but I would be a little bit more to lead the team better.
Right.
I did not know how.
Right. That is a learning experience. As I've said on the show a few times, one of my best lines ever given to me was strategy's perfect, but people are messy. So it's, you gotta, you know what to do. It's just how to lead the team to get it done.
Yeah. I remember coming in and back in the 90s, it was all product focused, right. and people doing the financial, there's very little actual financial planning other than figuring out with your financial calculator, how much you need to put away to get this amount for retirement, right? Like it's very product focused and simple financial planning and gathering assets. Whereas right. now we're more focused on the client because your business will grow the more care you put into it.
Yeah, I don't think it could be said better, right? The more care you put into your clients, your business grows just as a result of that, because that's what everyone wants. I think that's what I want. That's what you want. That's what every client is looking for. Now, Paulina, I find it interesting. Like you guys focus on a fairly niche client segment. So who do you target and why, sort of go down that path?
In the beginning, we never targeted anyone in particular. Like whoever had money, sure, we'll take you.
That was your client.
Right? Right? We would never turn anybody away. But over the years, we realized what we worked best at and what we accelerated at is those clients that were in a critical stage of life in a transition that they needed real help with.
Right.
Whether they were close to retiring and they didn't know how to structure their income, or they were selling a business, or all of a sudden, they get this inheritance and they don't know, how to manage it properly to continue on with and leave a legacy for their family
right.
at the same time. So I don't know what you would call that niche, but I find that's what those people that had that critical state, that had a critical stage in their life that needed help to navigate it. That's where we excelled.
Yeah, I think that's where we certainly come in handy when they need advice, and sort of that, what I term as the sudden money crowd. People that come into money that they don't know what to do with it, or a big change, to your point, moving from accumulation to deaccumulation. That's when really we come in, and you guys again have done a very good job at those types of transitional points in people's lives and really giving clarity and advice around them.
Yeah. And it's not just about meeting their financial goals, but their life goals.
Yeah.
What do they want to achieve with that money? Like, sure, everybody wants money, but money is just, right. Money is really just a means to an end, right?
Right. What you get next. So succession is something that's on your mind, whether it's a family member or otherwise. There are a lot of options for you, and I'd love to have a chat with you. So just go to the show notes, hit the link, and you can have a coffee with me, and we can chat about it. Looking forward to chatting with you about your business. Now, do you guys have a process to uncover that sort of life needs? Like, what would you go through and advice that you would give to our listeners?
Well, we've actually trained all our clients. The relationship we've trained our clients to contact us,
right,
for anything that happens. So the first thing, whether they left a job, so they have to move their pension over, they know to call us. It's not us trying to chase it. So I think it's important to train the client to come to you, no matter how small the issue they think it is, because the more touch points you have with the client, the more opportunities you will uncover with them, right?
Yep, absolutely agreed. So it's communication is a big part of your business.
So I actually had a client who called me the other day to tell me that she was so happy with her new chairlift that she got in her house, and that it was such a great experience that she had with this person. She wanted to give me their name and tell me all the experience she had so that I can give their name out to my clients, which is good because when clients need something, they call us, and
right,
if I can help them out, hey, use this person, I heard they're good, or give them some guidance of, where to go about it. So, but I mean, that's something small that's not really a big opportunity, but that kind of just shows the relationship that we have
right,
with their clients.
Right. That trusted relationship. It's not just an investment thing. It's a everyday life thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even during our review process, like we have a systemized review process. So every client, everything's kind of templated, but customized to each client.
Right.
So, our client meetings it always starts off with, hey, what's new? What's going on? How are your kids? How's your health? Because right there, that'll show us what opportunities are there for us to help them,
right?
Where we can give them advice, and it helps us with giving better financial planning for them. So like you said, it's communication with the client.
Yeah, like communication. No, and Chris, the other thing that I've noticed is how much and this probably comes from your whole legacy and your some of your principles. You guys do a lot of community work, right? And you base that in part of your business. Chris, maybe you can elaborate on some of the things you guys do and how that fits into not only the community, but your clients see it as well.
Well, the community work or those kind of things is not part of our business, but is more about of what we want to do or pay and give back to the community.
Right.
We do actually a lot of things. Back in the late 80s, I co-found a non-profit organization to build affordable housing.
Oh, fantastic.
We built 250 units that we have today. I'm the chairman of the board, still very active in it. If we see an opportunity to volunteer, we will never say no. As you know, back in 2003, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Exactly. I was amazed. Yeah, I didn't. It was too high.
Yeah, I know.
Cold. Cold too.
It was too cold and too high.
Yeah.
And in that climb, I raised, I think it was a little bit over $17,000.
I know, incredible.
And I got involved, all my clients. And that money came from the clients. It was not my money. I paid myself to go there, but all the 17 came from the clients. When we came back, what we done, we put a slideshow. We invite every client, whoever donate, and we show them the client. So it was a great success. And now, as you know, we go down to Honduras.
I was going to say, both of you have joined me in Honduras.
I went,
Chris is really good with a machete, by the way, if anyone was wondering.
We go. I went down 3 times. Paulina went down once, We know they need the help. They are in poverty. We would like to help. And even if we don't go down, we try to support them financially.
Yeah.
So we communicate we communicate to the client. Like every time we will come there, we will have a clients gathering. Sometimes we throw some slides of what we do.
Right.
So Pauline volunteers for Christmas on fundraising for the community, for the hospitals, and she does. Actually, she could elaborate a little bit more on what she does in those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess I haven't done those big Mount Kilimanjaro climbs that my dad has.
It's too high and too cold. We've already established that. Yeah,
exactly. But whenever people know me in the community, so when they need help to go on a committee to raise funds, especially for our local hospitals, I'll do that. I'll go on the committees and help them do the fundraising. Not that this is a volunteer thing, but last Christmas I was asked if I would teach a financial planning course at the college.
Oh, nice.
And although it's a paid thing that I'm doing, I thought to myself, I've never taught before, but it's a subject I love. So in a way it's a way of giving back to a young group of future financial planners and giving them my perspective on the industry. So I really enjoyed that this summer, teaching that course.
Now, not only have you that, I also understand that you've now contributed to a book that's coming out. In fact, a pair of books that are coming out. So maybe give a little bit as an extension of that. Now that you're in the whole teaching mode, you're also now a contributing author.
Yeah. So, well, my first book was in 2020, and it was The Financial Success for Women by Women.
Right.
Again, I love taking on new things kind of out of my comfort zone because I'm not a writer, but I know the topic very well. So I did that in 2020, and that was good because it gave us an opportunity to see our clients during the pandemic, because that's when everybody was kind of hiding out. So we actually took a copy of the book once it was released, and we went to each client's home and dropped it off. And
yes,
yeah, we would deliver it, at a distance, of course. Back then we had to.
Yeah, you threw it at them. Yeah.
So it was a chance for a touch point there, and we give it to other people that we feel may need our help. But most recently, there's actually two books I'm part of. Again,
fantastic.
same kind of thing. One for retirees and one for pre-retirees. So that hasn't come out yet, but that's going to be coming out in the fall.
Yeah, I was going to say, coming up fairly shortly, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they said summer of 2024, but that's like 3 weeks out. So I don't think we're going to make that deadline. But fall for sure.
Fall seems reasonable. So yeah, no, that's good.
I'm going to add back something back on the community involvement.
Yeah.
We as an office, we got involved in the One Roof, which is an organization that helps youth. They are in the risk of being homeless or get back on their feet. And as an office, we ask the clients every year in the events to contribute to that event, to that cause, and we match whatever we collect, monetary value. Every year we do that, and we support this organization.
Yes, nice. And how successful has that been?
Very good. We now clients, they come and they come either cash or check.
Well, fantastic.
And it's very good. And it's rewarding for us because we know we try to help the less fortunate. So
no, I love it. No, so what we've established is you guys have a great business. You really focus on the clients. You have a great process that you now share as a partnership. the clients recognize you as a team, giving back to your community. So you really made this happen. And as I said, I talked to a lot of advisors who are thinking about bringing their kids into the business, or kids who want to get into their parents' business. I've, had those conversations on both sides. What, if you had to give a few pieces of advice, and I'll let Chris go first because he was he had to, sort of have that business and bring Paulina along. What advice would you give somebody who is looking at bringing, a son or daughter into the business? And then I'll ask Paulina on the other side, what advice she would give somebody who is getting into their parents' business. So, Chris, what do you think?
If a parent wants the kids to come into the business, most of us, we are closed-minded. We don't let the kids express their feeling and tell you how they would run it. You have to, if you are going to listen to them, you have to treat them as a true partner. And the partnership is, 90% of them, they failed in the first.
Absolutely. I was going to go 99, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say 99.
Let's say a lot. Let's say a lot of them. Yeah.
So you have to listen to them, how they're going to run it, discuss it, and make sure that you come up with an understanding. Paulina and I'm a firm believer, we have a very good understanding. We respect each other. And yes, we disagree, we argue, we scream at each other. But end of the day, we say, Pauline, you are right, or Dad, you are right. Let's do your right.
I wouldn't say we scream at each other.
I'd like to picture that, though. So let's stick with that, though. Yeah, I want our audience to have that in their mind when they think about this.
She has the office beside me. So
we yell at each other through the walls.
Yell over. No, that's great advice, because I do see it where people bring in their kids and then they tell them what to do and, and how to do it and everything else. And I usually see those not working. Usually see those sort of collapsing in a few period of time. But as I said, you guys have stood the test of time.
Yeah, you have to let them make sure that that's what they want. You don't force them to come into this business. If they are forced, they are going to fail. And you don't want them to fail.
And to your point, let their ideas be heard, because sometimes, we've been doing it so long that we get sort of, the blinkers on, and that we don't really see, some of the potential that we could have. So I think that's fantastic advice. Paulina, what would be your advice if for other people who are getting into let's say their parents' businesses?
Well, I would say make sure it's something you really want to do. And not just because you see the kind of lifestyle your parents might lead and you want it too, because it is hard work. But I think the one thing that when we decided to take that leap of the succession and go into a partnership, we had to address clients' concerns.
Right.
So, and clients did have concerns because yes, it's Chris that had the relationship. Like the relationship is with him, and they knew me as in the office, but they didn't know me to actually work with me one-on-one and give me their full trust.
Right.
So let the clients voice their concerns. And there were some that did, right, which I was thankful for, because at least I know. And those clients I would actually work extra harder for. Right. Because now as a child, I have to prove myself. I have to prove my credibility. I have to develop that relationship now with that client, but it will maybe a different type of relationship with the client. So, and you can't assume that just because you're the child that all of a sudden the clients will give you that trust and respect. You have to earn it. And as a child, I think you have to even work even harder than someone coming from the outside.
I would think so too. Like I would think that level of nepotism, I think in my own situation, that if someone's bringing their kid in to give me advice, I would actually be pretty skeptical about that process until they really prove themselves. So I think that's a point. And then the other point that you made, which I want to elaborate on, which is it the passion or the paycheck? Right? In other words, you love the business. Like the paycheck's easy. We can see that somebody who's been in business for 30 years making pretty good money and has a pretty good life. But there was a lot of hungry years to get there. And, is that going to be applicable as well to somebody taking over the business with that same level of passion and fire in their stomach? So I think you make a really good point there. So my last question is, what's next? You guys, again, continue to build a better business. You continue to bring awards. What's next?
I'm going to let Pauline go.
All right. See, that's good. You see, I like this generational thing already. Let the boss talk.
Well, now that I'm a portfolio
I may add after she finishes.
Exactly.
Okay. He always adds after I finish.
Yeah.
What's next? Well, now that I'm a portfolio manager, I'm concentrating more on consistently refining our investment process in that way. But I think what's the big thing what's next for me is even my succession. So like I said, I have 3 kids. 2 are in university for business and 1 in high school. And I don't know if they want in the business. They've been working for me in the summers and ad hoc during the year, but I don't know. But if they do, I gotta make sure that this business is ready to accommodate them and see how they fit in. So one thing that Chris and I always do with our business is every year we look at, okay, what did we do last year? What worked? What didn't work? Where can we improve on? And how can we streamline? Because we gotta make sure everything has a process. So it's easy for someone to walk in, whether it's my kids or whether it's someone else that comes in, they're just going to come in and continue the process that we've already set up.
I love it. Continue that building of the business process. I love it. Chris, anything to add?
What I would love to see, my friend, is 3 generations in the same office.
I would love to see that. I don't think that we have that yet. At least I haven't experienced it either internally or even externally. I don't think I've seen that.
But as I said, as Paulina said, she would take me out of my office in stretchers. So I don't know whether it's 5 or 10 years or 15 years from now. But hopefully by then, the 2 oldest might make their mind. But I have great suspicions that the youngest, her passion, even though she doesn't say it, she's very good in the business point of view. So she's only 15. So you never know. In 10 years, she might be in our business.
Oh, I'd love to see that. That would be awesome. And you get at least another 25 years, so you'll be fine.
That's what I feel.
I used to joke and say Chris was my succession plan.
Exactly. You can give it all back again. Yeah. No, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. My little rant that I always say is, there's groups that do it right and there's groups that do it wrong. And you guys are a pair who have done it right. You have a good business. You're focusing on the right things, being the clients, the relationships, the communication. You guys do client events. You streamline your processes and you treat it as a partnership, not as, just, father bringing their daughter in to help them out. It's a true business that you guys have developed. And I love the fact that you're even now looking at how do you make it right for that next generation to take over. And I think everyone can take a very important lesson from what you guys are doing. With that, any final words for our audience?
Well, that's one of the reasons I asked. I let Pauline answer what's next because she wanted to. I knew she would say something about her kids.
I love it. Paulina, any final words for our listeners?
No, I would say anybody looking to get into the industry, especially being a child, just to have conviction and make sure you have the passion because everything else will flow. Like you have the knowledge, but have the conviction in this business.
And, it's that old cliche, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So it's not like we do, we work, we love what we do. So, and you guys are shining examples of that. So thank you so much. We have Chris and Paulina Hadjiyianni from Hadjiyianni Financial in Waterloo. Thank you so much. And I think we've learned a lot on, the family dynamics of succession planning, with sons, daughters, nieces, and nephews. We can see how it's done right. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having us.
And if you would like to have a chat about your succession plan, just go to the show notes, hit the link, and we can book a coffee with myself. Love to have a discussion with you about your business. Thanks for joining me on Turning the Page. What did you learn from today's episode? If you follow me on LinkedIn, please drop me a comment there. I'd love to chat with you about it over a virtual coffee. Send me a message on LinkedIn, or you can do so at our website. The link's in the show notes. I'm Chris Reynolds, and until next time.